You're watching Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge and the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Museum in Natchitoches. You can follow Sports Shorts Daily by going to our YouTube page, Sports Shorts, hosted by Ronnie Rantz, and get our 15-minute weekday video.
Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rantz coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios. Matt Moscona coming to us from his new digs over at Guarantee. We got a new office, Matt, or what are we doing?
Yeah, so I was in the same office on the fourth floor for about 9 years. And then everybody moved off the fourth floor, and there was a big corner office, which used to be Gordy Rush's office.
That's right.
Like, you know what? No one else is up here. I'm taking it. So I moved in here. It's pretty sweet. Look, I even have a couch in here. So check it.
Wow. So when you get off the elevator on the fourth floor, Matt, you must have hit something there. We'll have him back on here in a minute. But when you move off the elevator on the fourth floor, I want to say Matt's office is to the right there, So when you move off the office, I see you trying to get fancy there. We kicked you off, but we'll have you back on. When you get off the elevator on the fourth floor, is it the corner to the right, like caddy corner? There you go.
Wow. Ronnie, wow. They even have a window. Can you believe it? They gave me a window. Actually, they didn't give me anything. I just took it. I was like, I'm just taking this off.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, walk me through this, Matt. I know you go up there every weekend with your son and you do the elevator ride, so you're very familiar with this. When you get off the elevator on the fourth floor, go to the right, and you're that corner.
Got it.
Okay, just give you a little history on that office, okay? That office was the sales office back 20 years ago for X104.5, okay? And alternate rock, X1045, and I think oldies country might have been on 104.9. But a young Chad Bluin was a sales rep in that office. So you have the ghost of Chad Bluin in that office, I want you to know. We lost our boy here, Matt. He'll be back here with us, but that is too funny. That office has been many things over the year over at Guarantee Broadcasting, and now, of course, it'll house. We're going to talk a little. LSU football as the Tigers are taking on Auburn this weekend. Of course, we know TJ Finley is going to get the start, and let's. We're going to also visit with a little bit later on. Lynn Rollins is going to join us on the show, and we'll talk to Lynn as well and get a little update. Lynn's actually living in Auburn, so we'll hear from him as well. See, the ghost of Chad Bluin has already got you, Matt, in that office.
Like, what are you doing with this format? Like, we're 2 minutes in, you've already kicked me off twice. What's going on?
I think it's the Guarantee Wi-Fi. I don't think Gordy's done the upgrade.
Wi-Fi. I'm on my 5G LTE with a full signal. I think what we got to do is realize, Ronnie, in the 2020 world, everyone uses Zoom, brother. What are you doing here? Let's get on some Zoom calls. Let's make it work.
But see, here's the thing. Look, we're doing some B Live, and look, we got the little scroll going down at the bottom. We've got our graphics up there with our name bar. These are all things that look. I got Sports Shorts Daily, top right corner. These are all things that we can't do on Zoom. There you go. We're live right now on Sports Shorts. Like us on Facebook. I'm going to do the Matt Moscona beg here and say, hey, click, like, share. That's how we get people to watch our show. Click, like, share. Share this with people.
Look, sharing your post right now, Slimbo. It's what I'm doing. I'm sharing to the page right now. So everyone can
appreciate it.
Your live stream.
I love it. Be Live. I'm gonna convert you to Be Live, Matt, pretty soon. All right, tell us a little bit about LSU football from a standpoint of are you buying TJ Finley? Obviously he had the good game last week, 17-21. But if you had your choice, I mean, if Myles Brennan had practiced this week, would you go Brennan or Finley?
Finley. Wow. Ronnie, look, man, and here's the thing. A lot of LSU fans who are back and forth on this are struggling because everybody's pulling for Myles Brennan. Justifiably so.
Sure.
believe it or not, Myles Brennan has been part of our life since Les Miles, Cam Cameron. It was Les and Cam that first offered Myles Brennan. Like, he has been a part of our lives for a long time now, and he's waited his turn. He's an outlier. He's a good kid. He's kept his mouth shut. He's done all the right things, and he was having success. So it's really difficult to look and say, man, bummer, he took a shot. Now it's going to cost him his opportunity. But, Ronnie, sports is a meritocracy, brother. Like, it's the last true meritocracy. The best player plays. Was anybody last year complaining that any defensive back lost their job because Derek Stingley started as a true freshman?
Nobody cared.
No, nobody cared. Is anybody complaining right now that Trevez Moore just announced he's entering the transfer portal because BJ Ojulari is taking reps from him as a true freshman at defensive end? Nobody cares. Like, right. You play the best player. And Slimbo, I'm here to tell you, man, if you watched what I watched on Saturday and you're honest with yourself, you saw a kid that's 6'6", that's effortless, that's poised, that has a ceiling so much higher than Myles Brennan. Let me be very clear. LSU did not lose to Mississippi State and Missouri because of Myles Brennan. The offense has been, like, the defense is atrocious.
Right.
The offense is very good. Much higher ceiling. It's very obvious. Alabama could have kept winning games with Jalen Hurts, but they realized Tua was different. Flip side, Georgia decided to stick with Jake Fromm when they had Justin Fields sitting right there. With the benefit of hindsight, what do you think Kirby Smart wishes he had done in that scenario?
Sure, kept Fields, yeah.
Kevin Sumlin might still be the coach at Texas A&M had he decided to play Kyler Murray, but he didn't. Murray transferred, won a Heisman, number 1 overall pick. We know the rest. Now someone's got COVID in Arizona, and they're not even playing football right now. Look, man, it's just that day and age. Quarterbacks don't stay. If you have a good one, you ride him. And you got to identify it early as the coach and make your call. And it's obvious, man. You've got one in Finley.
I thought that LSU, though, did a great job. Ensminger and staff, I thought they did a great job of putting them in position to be successful. We hear that term all the time. But I thought they called a good game. They didn't ask him to do too much. They just moved the chains. They weren't necessarily taking the big, risks downfield that maybe they've done a little bit with Myles Brennan, because I think they believe in his arm and his passing ability probably at this stage in his career a little bit more. So I'm not totally giving up on Myles, because I thought TJ Finley it was just a perfect storm. They were 50-50 balance. He did show poise, but my goodness, Myles Brennan, though, I don't think he's done enough to lose the job. I don't think Myles Brennan deserves to lose the job.
They weren't 50-50 balanced. They ran it 52 times and threw it 21 times. Myles Brennan compiled amazing stats throwing the ball on average 40-plus times a game. Finley only needed 21, and you're wrong in saying that they didn't ask him to do too much, because for the first time all season, they actually threw the ball outside the numbers and took shots. It was amazing to see how effortless and how everything worked. Ronnie, again, the point isn't, did Myles Brennan do anything to lose his job? No. But let me pose to you this way. You just saw Jay Finley take his first action as a true freshman. What looked better? TJ Saturday night against South Carolina, or Myles Brennan in 2017 against Troy?
No, definitely TJ Finley, not even in question.
We are splitting hairs over a true freshman who's 19, who just saw his first ever action, and a fourth-year junior who's been in the program for 4 years, waited his turn, finally got his opportunity, and we're splitting hairs over who might – come on, man. You win with Myles Brennan? Absolutely. Can you win championships with TJ Finley? Yeah.
Do you look at this year? Obviously, they're 2-2 or whatever at this point. What's the record? Yeah, 2-2 at this point, right? It's such a crazy year. I don't even know what the record is.
4 games.
So at this point, do you look at it as just a freebie year, almost like a practice year? It doesn't really even matter, right? They're not going to win the rest of their games, are they? I mean, like, they're not playing for a championship. So at this point, what does it matter if they go 5-5, 6-4, whatever the record ends up being? It's a free year for everybody. Everybody doesn't use up a year of eligibility. It's kind of like a pass. We won the national championship last year, greatest year ever. We're still celebrating that. It's a COVID year. Let's just move on to next year. So based on that, even more reason to play TJ Finley, to get him those reps, because basically next year he's technically a freshman.
Yeah. I think the championship hangover was certainly something people were talking about after the Mississippi State loss. And you could kind of explain it away, Ronnie. Like, you could say, yeah, look, weird off season, perfect storm, Stingley's out, you have this domino effect in the secondary, you're playing this newfangled offense that nobody in the SEC had seen yet, new quarterback that nobody had seen yet, and it was one of those days, right? And even still, LSU was tied at 34 with 8 minutes to go with the ball. They couldn't make a play, and State got the ball, scored 10 unanswered, they went, whatever. I mean, that I think people were explaining away, but then when you go to Vanderbilt and Vandy rushes for 180 on you, and then you go to Missouri and you let a true freshman put 500 yards and 45 points on you, like, nobody's laughing anymore. Like, I think they realize very sincerely that the transition to Bo Pelini has not gone smoothly. And not only fans, but internally, I think they have as well. Hopefully they started to take some steps against South Carolina to right it, but it doesn't feel, Ronnie, like everyone's going, just a COVID year. The coaches, the players, the fans, like, it doesn't feel. I think this is an instance where very sincerely they've got to get all this fixed, because it does have an effect. Look at what's happening in recruiting right now. I mean, you've got to be able to finish this class strong, and you can't show cracks in the foundation.
Let me ask you, the last couple of days, LSU's had some players that have opted out, right? We know Moore's opted out. He's a senior defensive player. We know Apu Ika's going into the transfer portal. Obviously, we had players before the start of the year, Shelvin and others, and Chase and all that opted out or going pro. I guess the players before the start of the year didn't offend me as much. I mean, with Jamar Chase, I get it, right? I mean, it's a coin flip. Nobody can be upset at him for his decision. I don't understand anybody else's decision, because all they could have done is help themselves had they played, not really hurt themselves. But my question to you is, these players transferring right now in the middle of the season, and obviously frustrated with the system and the lack of playing time. Why am I bothered? I'm bothered by it this week, because this is why I'm bothered. You tell me how you feel. They're not using a year of eligibility, right? This is a free year, okay? You practice, and the reason I chose to go play baseball in college over football in college, at the end of the day, when I really had this conversation with my parents, who was recruited really equally by both, was because I realized, you know what? I enjoy baseball practice a hell of a lot more than I enjoy football practice, right? Tommy Moffats of the world were the death of me, and, all those 110 sprints and all the grunt, I knew I was going to have to redshirt a year and then back up for 2. And I did the math. I was like, okay, I'm going to have 872 snaps in my career. It's not worth it. I'm going to go play baseball. And thank God I did. It was the Curly Allman era. But the bottom line is that, do you love football or not? Are you a football player or are you not? And when you're Ika and Moore, even if you're not playing a lot, this year doesn't count. All you're going to do is get better. You're going to put tape out there. You're going to stay in shape. You're going to get reps. Towards next year, wherever you go, you'll be a better player. And the fact that they think that it's a better decision to sit on their sofa and get fat, it just drives me crazy. I don't get it.
So if you're not going to play, so the flip side of it is, all right, let's look it up, Huaika, all right? You're a highly recruited guy. You play 13 games on a championship season. You come back into your sophomore year, and you're supposed to be a starter. You're supposed to be a leader at your position group. It changed defenses, and you really don't fit. You don't fit. And now you're losing reps to a true freshman in Jaquelin Roy and a defensive lineman in Joseph Evans, who a week before the season was playing offensive line. So I look at that and I go, I'm not playing. I'm in a defense that doesn't fit me. I'm getting Q-tips shoved up my nose every damn day. like, tickling my brain with all the COVID protocols I got to deal with. Why? Let me just punt, go get myself, find where I want to go next year, find what my next spot is going to be, and move forward with that. I mean, I think that's I'm Ronnie, I understand your point. You're looking at it emotionally as a former athlete. It's just a different time. And that's not going to sit well with an old school guy. I'm not calling you old school, but you understand.
Right. No, yeah.
The culture has changed. And I will never, ever, Ronnie, especially because of how intercollegiate athletics, in particular college football, college basketball, have changed, increasing revenue. I will never criticize a student athlete for making a decision that is in their own self-interest. If they decide to transfer, if they decide to opt out, if they like, I would be totally fine with granting immediate eligibility waivers for someone to be able to transfer and play immediately. I am 100% pro player in all of those instances because everyone is getting rich and wealthy, and they're not. And I understand the counter argument, which is, well, they get a free education, they get room and board, and they don't have debt, and all of that is true. They get world-class medical care. All of that is true. 100% of that is true. And they should get more. And I also realize it is completely impractical to pay student athletes. Like, everyone who thinks there's enough money for that, Ronnie, you know the whole, there's 400,000 of us and we'll all be going pro in something other than sports, right?
Right, the commercial, yeah.
Hey, you can't take revenue and pay 400,000 student athletes because it comes out to like a couple $100 a pop. Like,
right.
And because with Title IX, you've got to pay Trevor Lawrence the same amount that you pay the third-team swimming and diving scholarship player. So it'll never work to where you can pay them. So let them make money off name, image, and likeness. Let them transfer whenever they want. I understand your point, but I also understand the other side of the coin. Now, I'll tell you this is worth watching with regard to what you're talking about. When you were in school, it was almost unheard of that players would leave early for the NFL draft, right? Remember when Eddie Kennison in '95? Right. Oh my God, Eddie Kennison's leaving early for the draft. Now that's in vogue, like everybody does.
Nobody Shaq came back for his third year. I mean, that would never, ever happen.
Nobody ever opted out of a bowl game until Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey did it, and now it's in vogue. It's just accepted. Right. I am going to be very interested to see if now, with opt-outs mid-season,
right.
Guys transfer all the time in the offseason. It's rare that you ever see someone opt out in the middle of the season. They're doing it now because of COVID, because it's kosher. What about next year if we're not in COVID protocols? Do you see this? Do you see guys who aren't playing a bunch? Or Kylan Hill at Mississippi State, starting running back. State's, what were they, 1-4? They suck. I mean, they beat LSU, and they haven't won since, and they're awful, and said, you know what, I'm out. Peace. I'm out. I'm going to the draft. I'm curious if we don't start to see that more in college football. Puka Williams at Kansas has opted out. DeMonte Coxie, a really good wide receiver from Memphis, has opted out midseason. I think that's the thing moving forward to keep an eye on. Do you start to, even when we're no longer in the COVID world, do you see players on teams that have lost, their goals aren't there anymore, just say, peace, I'm out, I'm going to take it to the house and go get ready for the draft?
I 100% think that's going to happen. I mean, we've already saw it happen a couple of years ago at Clemson with their quarterback after, fourth game of the year, transferred. I think you're going to see the good players get to that fourth game, peace out, or even a good play, or even a player who's playing well, if they don't like their situation perfectly, get out after that fourth game and go elsewhere. One last thing before we let you go, Matt. What in your mind it constitutes a successful season from LSU at this point with 6 games left?
Get above 500. You get above 500, that means you will have done what you're supposed to do, which is you're supposed to beat Arkansas, beat Ole Miss. That gets you to 4. And then on top of that, if you're able to beat Auburn, A&M, Bama, Florida, one of those, then you're above 500. Or 2 of those, rather, you're above 500. I mean, I think that would be an amazing turnaround because, Ronnie, if you get to 6-4, then it's fair to look back and say, man, if we had our heads screwed on right against State and Missouri, you're 8-2 and you're in the New Year's 6, which is my opinion is New Year's 6 should be LSU's basement expectation moving forward. You're not going to be in the playoff every year, but you should always be in the New Year's 6. That means you're 10-2. You're in that New Year's success, and in years where it falls your way, you can get in the playoff and make a push for a championship. But basement expectation for LSU should always be New Year's Six, and that's what I think. I think 8-2 is what it would have taken this year. And I think you can look back with hindsight. If they finished 6-4 and go, man, if you'd started faster, you'd have been right on target. So go 6-4, beat Auburn, maybe get a win against A&M, maybe you lose to Bama and Florida. Okay, you still have a couple of nice wins. You're putting together a really good recruiting class. I think you build upon that momentum and go into 2021 thinking, all right, is this a team that can compete for a championship again?
LSU New Year's Six, LSU basketball make the tournament, LSU baseball make a College World Series. Is that the minimum kind of the goal every year?
So college baseball with LSU in the College World Series is the minimum expectation. I mean, that used to be it. I think that I would love to say that's realistic. I don't think that's realistic every year to be in the College World Series, but hosting a regional and hosting a super regional every year, yeah, I think that should be. But NCAA tournament for basketball, New Year's Six for football, I think all that, yeah, I think all those are baseline expectations. Like that should be the minimum. And I think LSU football is right there, Ronnie. I mean, they won a Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago in the New Year's Six. They won a national championship, and this is a team that, quite honestly, I think we're going to look back at the end of the year and go, you clearly missed opportunities against State and Missouri. I think we already think that.
Well, Missouri for sure, yeah.
But even still, right? I mean, Missouri, but even State, like, I mean, if you just play some zone, like we've seen everybody do it since. They rush through State and Costello throws it to the other team. He does it every game. Like, he got benched 2 weeks later. It's just, those are two games you should have had. Like, LSU right now should be undefeated. They should be 4-0 going to Auburn, ranked in the top 10, and everyone thinking, can they keep getting better throughout the year? And we'll find out against Bama. Instead, it's what can you salvage? And that's.
So I got a bet with Joel Davis. Of course, I already lost the first bet, which was I was a creature of the moment, and I said Costello was going to be a first-round pick after the LSU game.
I wanted to bring this up because, randomly on Saturdays, I always take my son for a long car ride in the mornings, and I hear you guys in sports shorts. And I was listening, and it was you, Joel, and I don't know who else was on the show, but you were. I think it was
Ted Bruin, actually.
All right, Bruin, and you all were talking about Costello being a first-round pick and being in the Heisman conversation. When, gee, there's the moment thing. I'm like, this kid couldn't cut it at Stanford. I'm like, and he torched an awful LSU defense. I mean, that kid is a disaster, man. Like, you can see why he lost his job. But Ronnie, you've been doing this long enough. Come on, it can't be the moment like that. Come on.
If Costello would have opted out after the LSU game, I think I would have been right. Like, seriously, he should have just opted out after the LSU game and said, I'm good. There's my tape. I'm declaring for the draft.
I'll tell you this, Ronnie, you can't let the other guys off the hook because you weren't alone in that. I can't remember how it went, how everybody felt, but we need to go dig that up and play that. That's the kind of thing that needs to live on. For like me in 2012 picking Notre Dame to beat Alabama for the national championship. I've never forgotten. That conversation with you all that day is one that needs to live on forever.
Well, we'll pull that piece. I know where it's at. And the funny thing is that I was actually at that game in Miami, Notre Dame and Alabama. It wasn't even close, Coach. That was when your boy had the fake girlfriend.
Manti Te'o, no doubt. You know what? True in that game, Ronnie, was if you remember the Ohio State-Miami game for the national championship in 2002. And Ohio great defense, the game manager at quarterback, but they did enough to make the game sloppy and slow it down and play their pace, and they had a great running back as well. And I thought they could maybe play that style of game, and sometimes it's just your time. Or maybe I just desperately wanted to convince myself that Alabama, after absolutely robbing LSU of a national championship, was just going to face that embarrassment, but wasn't to be because Nick Saban's made a deal with the devil.
Final thing, I did say that Costello will get drafted ahead of Myles Brennan. Now, they both may be free agents, but do you think Myles Brennan gets drafted? Well, or will he be a free agent QB?
Ooh.
Danny Etling got drafted, just FYI.
I will say, but Danny Etling also was a 2-year starter in the SEC.
True.
If Myles Brennan stays at LSU, I think he loses his job to TJ Finley, which ultimately means I think Myles will go play somewhere else in his final season, and how he plays, I think, would dictate that. You could have a Stephen Rivers situation on your hands, where, remember, Stephen Rivers left LSU, went to Vanderbilt, played, lost his job, finished up at Northwestern State, and then he was out of football. I think Myles is a better player than Stephen, but I think that's an on-point comp. Guys that are big, not super mobile, good arm, football family. You pull for, but realistically, I think whenever you're side by side with someone who's an elite talent, it just goes.
By the way, if Myles Brennan leaves, he's going to have 2 years somewhere. I mean, he can play a lot of places. I mean, he maybe not an SEC per se, but he can definitely play somewhere for sure. All right.
The SEC, Ronnie?
What's that?
KJ Costello is playing in the SEC.
Yes, he is. And, I had a lot of drinks that week, and I was upset at the defense. And, you can't take it back. It will live on forever. But I don't know. It's one of those things you regret in life, Matt. What's on AFR this afternoon, 3 to 6?
It's Football Friday, man. So Terry will be in studio. I'll chat with Phil. We'll preview the biggest games in college football. We'll have our celebrity guest picker. We'll look forward to all that, man.
You don't know who the celebrity guest picker is? Terrio does that?
Usually, we'll talk at the beginning of the week, and we'll get some ideas.
Okay.
But he does it, yeah. And that's why sometimes you end up with Richard Condon and Glenn Guilbeau. Because
I'm waiting for Brad Cressy to be the next celebrity picker. Just go over to the Matt, thank you so much, man, for your time. Again, the sofa looks great in your office.
Great. Thank you, Ronnie.
Appreciate it, man. He's Matt Moscona. Check him out, AFR 3 to 6, Monday through Friday on ESPN Baton Rouge. Thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily. Please like, share this video. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge and the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Museum in Natchitoches. Don't forget to follow Sports Shorts on Facebook, Twitter at sports_shorts, and check us out on Saturday mornings from 10 to noon at Sports Shorts Radio on 104.5, 104.9 ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge.